All right, we in. We in. We in. Cool. Cool. All right. This is our coming into. Let me get to this shit real quick because it kept freezing. I had to reset everything. Oh, go ahead. Sorry about all that. Sorry about the. I had to reset it all, bring it all back into fucking place. I'm sharing this out now to everybody, so we all know we in. Everything's stable. I had to reset my router. That's all. I had to reset my router. I'm sorry, guys. I had to reset the router. It's okay though. As you coming in, sorry about that. We still gonna get this done because this is what we do when we do this work. We got to do this work. We got to bring ourselves into that ability for ourselves to go into our highest selves and understand that. But yeah, we gonna get into this. Let me just send out the link to everybody that's asking me about the new link. Going, man, whoo, it's all good. Yeah, whoo. That's why we going to Zoom soon. I'm just, forget, I can say that on, they're gonna cut my video. It just makes my point even more personal. But as we coming into our space for ourselves to understand, this understanding of our self, the signpost of resistance. Well, first off, the original, what you're seeing right now, what we're seeing right now is the example of those very resistances that we've been using. Like, yeah, that's my resistance mirror. I can't do this because they stopping me and they stopping us. I don't know about most people, and most of the people that I deal with on a normal basis, my soul tribe, and that's another thing. Even to the way that you are setting your tone, even to the way that you're setting your tone in with yourself, even to the way that you're setting your tone in yourself, understanding yourself, living in yourself, learning in yourself, loving in yourself, even the way that you're setting your tone is going to be more in tune to your authentic self. You're going to look like people are going to think you are an asshole. That's cool. People are going to think that you an asshole. That's all right. People are going to think that you think you better than people. That's okay. As I send this out to each and every person that I know. Oh shit, that's some bullshit. All right, cool, whatever. I ain't thinking about that. But as we coming into that space, everything that you're doing is going to be based on your authentic self. Welcome, 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 welcome. One of the things that I actually put up together today was last year. It was funny. Last year I made a post about, I think it was last year. Yeah, now 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I set out a post. It was like, yo, you having a problem with motherfuckers in your inbox? Charge a $30 consulting fee. My brother, he made up a post about with everything he's doing in his company for his God Mode imprint. He put up everything in there, and he said, I was like, nigga, that's exactly. So today I went through the process of actually writing out the automated message that I will be posting if somebody calls me or leaves a message or anything into that space, because my time, my amount of work that I do, there's no more wasting my time. Everything's about quantifying and becoming more efficient, living within your shit. For a lot of us, we spent remember, everything down here is upside down. So your job is to turn everything right side up. It's not to turn it right side up. It's not to take back over the planet. Why the fuck would you want the prison? If you studied the Gnostic text, we've read Gnostic text, and if you haven't, join the book club. If you if you read the Gnostics, if you read the Gnostics, read the aspects of the book, just the book of Thomason itself. If you read the book of Judas, these are some of the books that we're gonna be getting into. in the book club. Stay tuned for that information. But if you're looking at it, everything calls this a fucking shithole. So your job is even to that this space of chaos and deception. So in this space, it's not meant for you to turn it right side up and make it great again. It was never meant to be great. It's an inherently flawed space that if you learn the cycles that are reflective of yourself, you learn the cycles, you're able to move through all of this. We're basing it based on the exoteric aspect of thought is based on 70% of my life. And even when you think about it, think about this. You are told to work until you are 65 years of age. You are told to work till you're 65 years of age. You are given the aspect of going to school for schooling and whatnot that eats up about a good 10% of your life is schooling and all of these aspects of education. 10, maybe, yeah. Because we building up to this. So you now have 30% of your life naturally in that space. It's 30%. No matter how you break down that, it's 30%. And now you're told that you have a 70% influx. About 60 years. So it's like 70% of your life. Now you got this 70% of your life. Like, yeah, I'm going to be. Remember how I've talked about the aspects of this isn't your ending. This is your beginning. We have to switch the points of when you came down, that was your ending. That was the end of your reign. You came down here for a reason. You was chilling. I know where I was at. I was up there dancing and partying and I was having a blast ass time, building shit and destroying shit and being evil and shit, doing what Titans do. That's what I was doing in that space. And then came down here into this space. That's your ending. You're coming to that middle point. Now we're having this space where all of that veil has been lifted. So now the veil has been lifted. Now you have on the other end, what is all of this? Everything is going to lead back to shadow work. I'm going to keep pushing that out there. Going to keep saying it because it's the fucking truth. Everything's going to lead back to shadow work. Everything's going to lead back to the work that you need to do. I don't care how many books you want to go grab, how many lectures you want to go watch, how many people, because what you're doing is naturally filling that old imprint of yourself that feels this longing and needing for something. So you never get to where you need to get to because you never apply what you're supposed to apply. This changes that mentality to where for 70% of my energy is in my spiritual aspect, spiritual and mental. 30% is the intention, which is the aspect of my mind frame, where me perfecting the mind frame, my subconscious, and then creating around that this core, which is that 40%, that core, or not the core, or the external aspect, that's every part filter of the gates and everything of my own design, such as why I'm always being detached, what triggers are going to trigger me becoming open, me being more honest to myself, me structuring myself in this fashion. That becomes that core. So now I sit upon my mountain. I sit upon the mountain like Lord, the sleeping Shiva, or I sit upon my throne like Baphomet, and I sit upon my throne, and all I do is create, waiting for the next phase, seeing what could come to me next that I got to pay attention to. I'm in divine unity with myself. So that even further creates that space that I'm no longer in the impression or being depressed or being super happy or having to be super happy or having to be super sad or having to be super mad, because that all goes into the same definition. All of that. We always think about this aspect within the subjects of the impulses. I'm going to give you the game on the aspect of the subject of the impulse. We naturally in the human thought, based on that intellectual aspect, the intellect is only stimulated by the emotional impulse. It's like when you sit there and you graduated high school or you graduated college or you studied something, you were excited because you knew something. Simply intellectual, simply emotional impulse. The impulse made you want to go read more, which is a needed aspect. But you're going to get to a point in time to where it's like, you know what? Maybe, but what about this? How does it connect? That's genius. See the attachments within the emotional impulse. So you can go grab this book and read it cover to cover and be like, okay, cool, I know some things. Like, for example, let's open up to the generator. The bottom half of me being a manifesting generator, the way that I put it together is even in the aspect of being different. In my physical form, I'm the generator. In my spiritual form, my spiritual higher self, I'm the manifestor. So 70% of me is the manifestor, 30% of me is the generator, but we're going to break that down into understanding how concentrated that energy is. Remember when Bobby Hemmett, I don't know if anybody's seen that lecture. Bobby Hemmett put out a lecture with like, if the Christos energy were to be released, it would destroy everything. That's how powerful it is. If the Christos energy was to be released, it would destroy everything. Like a fucking atomic, like a warhead, like an atomic bomb aspect. So I want you to think this is the aspect you understand and getting your emotions in control. 70% of your energy is broken down into however you want to break. You can break this down into smaller little pieces depending on your process of how far you came along in your works. So, but for me, I know that 40% of my energy is within the creation and 30% of my energy is within the intent. Because my subconscious is already naturally going to take in all the information from the aspect of what I've created to see and understand my space. So now I get into this 30%, in this 30% rule. Now I get into that 30%. That 30% is the physical structure within the environment that I'm in. That 50% is the environment or the deified environment that I created. And the other 50% is the structure that runs or controls or my atom that controls my world, that names everything what it is and defines everything as what it is. That's the Genesis story right there. So I said it last week and it was funny, like there's people still arguing back and forth on where you're getting your information from, what does Islam mean and all of this shit. And everybody's speaking these 2 points and they got their boards up. I'm the type of individual as the manifestor, the generator. I'm the type of person like while they're sitting there arguing, I'm going to walk in between them while they're arguing and I'm going to make the connections in between the two. I'm going to see where this contradicts and open that gate, and allow that shit to connect the way it's supposed to. You're coming into this state of connecting, which leads to that 30%. That 30% is 15% of the foundation and then 15% of the structure. The 15% of the foundation would be my environment. So this is you creating your environment that is not based off emotional impulse. This is you creating an environment that's based upon impact of your energy within that space, of what you apply within that space and how you build it. The structure that you build, remember how you do that, a great book is Conjuring, when you're aligning these two mirrors to have your energy come into full focus, that laser, that quantum efficiency for yourself, that's the structure that you're now building around it. That's the other 15%. The other 50% is the body that you have created or deifying yourself. From the 70% is the no self, because that's intent and creation. I know that I'm a creator. I know that I set the intent based on creation. So everything that I now build above this, you're looking at it. Remember, we're looking at it from this way, looking up to understand it to go back to the top. So you can get through all of these gates. The Kabbalah and this, same similarities. This goes deeper into the aspects. This goes deeper into the human design. This goes deeper into the design aspects of understanding the gates of understanding those gates that lead to expression, that lead to Kether, that lead to these spaces. Understanding how your body, understanding the motherboard, so you can actually be like, nigga, I want to program that to do some shit I wanted to really do. Instead of me sitting here always in the aspect of the default. For me, one of the defaults was me being an Aquarius as the chief aspect of my sign And then my rising being Scorpio, that means I'm just passionate. I'm very passionate about being detached. That's what I defined it as for myself. I'm very passionate about being detached if I need to. But I didn't understand how my energy, when the triggers came up, why I would just use detachment as a default, as a mechanism, like, oh, go away from me. Instead of being in that space, now you're looking in your space and you're like, is it me or is it them? Because I've had 9 people throughout my life tell me the same thing, that I'm an asshole. I've had 19 people tell me that I'm hard to deal with. I've had this many people tell me this, this, and this. That many people, it goes from the percentage goes down into it being something that everybody's saying, and it goes up, and they're like, maybe I need to pay attention to this. Maybe I need to pay attention to this. Why do they keep saying the same thing? Because until you realize that, you're going to sit there and be triggered every single fucking day. Most motherfuckers is triggered right now in the form of laughter. Most motherfuckers are triggered. If you respond to it, you automatically a part of it. Your energy naturally goes to it. You felt like you needed that laugh. This is only if you haven't learned how to filter that energy through yourself. When I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. The first thing I saw when I saw the thing with them storming the Capitol, I was like, oh, they're mad. Them the motherfuckers that are mad that they couldn't do their civil rights reenactment this year. Because that's where they're at. That's where they at mentally. That's where they're at in their in their path. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here creating other shit, putting other shit together. I'm in a good space for myself. I'm good. I'm in a good space. I'm in a great space. Started off this year fucking great. I got rid of the last aspects of what could stop the flow of that positive, that full positive focus of my intent, and does not fit the definition of my intent, does not fit the definition of my intention, does not fit the definition of my creation. And me being open within the space. Yeah. That's an exact space. Like, I was told I was mean because I was always off-putting. Even now, motherfuckers be like, you have a real nonchalant attitude, and I can't stand your nonchalant attitude. Now I understand why I have a nonchalant attitude. I really do not care about anything. And when I tell people, when you tell motherfuckers that you don't care about shit, they look at you like, oh my God, he doesn't care. Because they're still stuck within the definition of caring, and they're confusing caring with compassion. I have compassion for everything. I have compassion because I have an understanding and an openness. I have a compassion and openness. But just because now that I'm within the compassion and the unity of myself, married to myself, I think I'm going to get myself a wedding ring. I don't know yet. I'm married to myself and in balance with myself. I now can set my boundaries that now can keep me within my focus of whatever I'm at. It's 70-30 or it's 70-30 because that 30% is from a concentrated source of energy. If you really put 70% into yourself, and this is a linear purpose, this is straight linear. I want you to think about that, because the same way that I run I've been saying, and I never knew why I always said it, and it just made sense. 70, like when you run in your company, I run a company. I have an imprint, a platform that I'm building through teaching and a book coming soon and all of these aspects. Yeah, but like I'll put a ring on myself. But put yourself into that space mentally. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am drinking rum straight. No chaser. This is what they wanted. Woo, this is what we drinking tonight. But putting yourself into that space, when you're running your company, I've always said it. If I cannot see myself running a company, if you're not disciplined enough in the aspects of when it comes to understanding your energy, which is currency, now I can say that because now I understand why I've always said it. If you're not in the aspect of understanding the balancing of your money or your currency, that's your energy. If you're not in the aspect of understanding your emotions, that's the impulse, whether you're going to buy or you're going to sell, be in fear to not move forward. These aspects of business, these are the same aspects that they've been using the entire time, running it as a fucking business any fucking way. You just got stuck in the emotional aspect of impulse buying, impulse cutting people off, motherfuckers cutting people off every fucking month. And then like, I got to cut people off every month. Motherfuckers don't understand how real I am. The definition of real, the definition of being bad, the definition of being the angry person, that definition is given to you in mass media anyway. How real are you if your shit can be mass produced? You can't produce another one of me. You can't produce another Papa Lucifer, period. That is not, that's not even coming from that's true aspect. You cannot create another. Yes, Forex is all about profiting off emotions. But when you in that space, you're like, yeah, you can't create another Papa Lucifer. I had a conversation 2 years ago with one of my peoples. And he was like, yo, I'm writing books and I'm putting all this information together. I'm doing this, and this, and all this and the third. But I'm afraid that, if I put my stuff out, people are going to take it. And something in me didn't understand. I couldn't understand what the fuck he was talking about. And I told him, I was like, yo, it really wouldn't matter because it's you. It's you. You're the original spark to it. They're supposed to take whatever the fuck you're doing and run with it. So now you get to see, because this is the aspect of you being the creator. You're the creator. So you're going to have motherfuckers going to take your shit and run with that shit naturally. But here's the key. As a god, as a goddess, as a titan, as in your alchemy, you need to see the different impressions of you need to see the different impressions of your work in different lights, in different facets. If you get upset and that emotional impulse is like, okay, cool, I'm shutting everything down, all you're doing is hurting yourself ultimately, because what if one of those motherfuckers pop off? It's all about building the authority of yourself within your space, taking in the authority. Authority don't need no fucking control because it's all aspects of understanding its power. You're not into true authority until you have the aspects of your power and until you are intimate with your power. You do not have you have no authority. You're going to see these triggers of the lack of your authority in your life based on when you're sitting in that space and you're triggered to feel like you need to have control over it. I have to have no authority over shit in my fucking. I have authority over myself. In the letting go aspect, it was similar to Watch the Last Airbender, and I was thinking about Hellboy the other day. His left hand, I think in Hellboy's left hand, the key, that's the left-handed path. They were trying to stop that nigga from sticking his hand in the key and destroying some shit, burning some shit down. But when you're inside of your space with your mentality, you have an authority over yourself, your energy. You are the spark. You are the creator. You are the intent, which is in that 70%. You are the intent, which is 30%. My intent is to teach. My intent is to learn. My intent is to be open. My intent is to be vulnerable. My intent is to grow. My intent is to evolve. My emotional maturity. My vote is to be within the divine unity of myself. That is within the power of my intent. Within the aspects of creation, which is that 40% outside of that. I am now created Godical Alchemist LLC, and all of my affiliates under it, from doing the podcast, doing the lectures. Now I got to call Alchemy out. Everything that I do, that's based on the creation. That's the creation aspect. Based on my intent to teach, learn, open, heal, be myself, be the true aspect of the authenticity. My intention is to be the most authentic of myself. That's my core. That's at the core. That's my soul purpose. That's within my soul purpose. You can't define the authority within yourself until you understand the aspect of you can keep, and this is the realest shit. You can keep doing what you're doing. You can keep doing what you're doing, but I can guarantee you will have a lack of fulfillment forever. You'll always need something. Start talking really fast to DMT in this. But you can keep doing what you're doing. Nobody's going to stop you. You can keep doing what you're doing. You can keep letting the triggers affect you and detaching. You can keep doing that shit over and over and over again. But you'll never understand the pattern. Words don't mean shit because we can break down words all day. Actions don't mean shit because actions can come with malicious intent. But you cannot, the pattern is the key. The pattern is the key. That's like me looking at a quilt and seeing a stitch out of place and they're like, oh, that's defective. You can have one stitch out of place. You can have one key sequence out of place in your pattern and that shit won't work. You can switch your words all day. You can switch up actions all day. But you can have one component within a pattern fucked up and that shit won't work. One pattern, one synthesis inside of a pattern and it won't get to its fullest potential. So it's the pattern. So when we think about these resistances and why shit keep coming up in resistance in your life, yeah, just like writing a code. This is the ultimate fucking code for yourself. That's like if right now, if I typed in Gotta Code Alchemist LLC the wrong way, my shit won't come up. My shit will not come up. I cannot find why the fuck my shit won't come up? That's going to be your key. Understanding that pattern that led you into that space. Understanding that imprint that brought you into that space. Because until you even understand the pattern of that imprint, similar to, think about your life is basically like First fucking 48 when they got to go around looking for clues and shit. So you sitting there like you don't even understand the imprint of why you're doing what you're doing. Most motherfuckers are scared about even going into that imprint. The trauma created that imprint, that new symbol in that imprint. And now you just keep pressing in that and keep filling that shit up every year. There's motherfuckers right now that are going to do the same, that are in the same mindset that they were in last year, wondering, and by the middle of this year, they're going to be wondering why the fuck my life, why have I not got ahead yet? Why have I not got ahead yet? And then they're going to look at the news. The usual suspects are gone. The usual suspects are gone. Trump was the initiation to the aspect of removing that veil. I said that when it first came out. When I first saw the Trump shit, I was like, yo, Trump is the motherfucker that is going to show you, that is going to lift the veil off of everything that is really here and what it is. Barack was that aspect of letting you know what you would have to be in order to be you. What you would have to be in order to fit within this narrative. Yes, we still gonna talk shit about you, but what Barack Obama showed you in that aspect, that nigga was unfazed. Go outside of the emotional aspect of impulse, that's because he was getting paid, he was part of the agenda. Don't give a fuck. Just to have that imagery in front of you showed you that this motherfucker wore everything from a brown suit, smoked Newports on the front lawn, had all this shit said about him, called his wife a monkey, all of this shit, and still moved the way that he needed to move. Just seeing that symbol, you can use that symbol into your moving forward. And now you got the Trump aspect in your space. He's showing you everything that you need to see. What it looks like to be always be angry and do whatever you want with a lack of discipline. Love and love whatever you want without a lack of discipline. This is what you don't have to have no discipline in this space. Because it's time. All of that space and time in yourself. You sitting there looking at yourself, and then you stuck on, why can I never seem to be happy? Happiness is based on your design, not theirs. Happiness is based on you. You being, whether you super happy, there's motherfuckers right now that are super happy and super loving light. And then you have motherfuckers that are super dark and they hide in the darkness with their anger, their fear, and their securities. And then the same people that are super happy, they're super happy. I'm an empath and I'm feeling everybody's energy. Learn how to define the fucking energy. Once you acknowledge what you are, you have to define it into the aspects of yourself. Understanding your design. What are you? The reason you feeling everybody energy and you feel bad about everybody energy because you're trying to guide everybody to this space, you ain't learned how to guide yourself. Maybe you're a projector and you ain't learned that you're a projector yet. Maybe you're a generator and you keep trying to wait and you keep trying to wait for shit to be built. You keep trying to wait for shit to be built and wait for motherfuckers to react. You in a state of reaction, frustrated because you reacting and everything because you ain't learned to respond. Maybe you a manifestor and you ain't learned the aspect of maybe I need to sit back. Nigga, I'm the initiator. But when I initiate, I must inform my initiation. That's the definition for me. My definition to manifest the generator. So I not only have to learn how to inform, but I have to wait for I have to learn how to embrace the response of the information that I give out. But I also have to understand that the information I'm giving out is going to, I'm going to have to keep initiating these new blocks of information. The response will be when I'm looking at somebody and they say, I don't understand that, or I don't get that. Okay, cool. Let me inform you on this. This is this, this is this, this is this. That's my aspect of response. When you're moving in a state of constant reaction on emotional impulse, you're going to get some information. That's like grabbing this book right here or grabbing this book right here, this lovely book right here, or whatever book or whatever. Grabbing that book or grabbing them cards. Oh, I got the new cards. Let me go start giving out information. You ain't learned how to work. You ain't defined that information yet. You ain't defined and put that code to yourself yet. So all you're going to be doing is the bare minimum surface, and be like, yes, I know Akashic Records. Meanwhile, you going to say that shit. Now that you said that, now the energy, the universe has to test your ass in that space. The universe going to have to test you now. Oh, you say you ready for that, my boy? You say you ready for that, sis? All right, cool. I'm going to give it to you. And then you sitting there like stuck in emotional impulses, not going based on impact, becoming the authority in your field, becoming the authority in your space. It's not about control. Becoming the authority in your space is not about fucking control. It's about you understanding the intimacy with your power. It's being intimately in tune with yourself, being in balance and in center with yourself, allowing the triggers to help you open the gates within yourself to become the ultimate and not have to come back to this shit. That's your space. That's where you at mentally right now. You waiting on, but taking the aspect of I told y'all this DMT in my system shit. But now you in that space, and now you're like, man, what am I doing next? It's a business model. This shit's been all about business the entire time. I remember listening to Brother Polite, and I remember he said family is business. And I remember a motherfucker looked at this nigga like, but he got this shit is business. The love aspect is already naturally you. If you are 70% in the intent of your love, the aspects of higher for yourself, bring yourself into that space, then that 48% that you building based in the creation of the love of yourself, the building of yourself, guess what the natural reflection will be within that 30%? That 30% will be the 50%, will be 50% of the foundation of the love and the intent of yourself, and 50% of the structure of the love of yourself. So now that you got those two, now that you got all these percentages in line, now every time you go into a space, fuck 50-50, fuck 30, fuck 50-50, fuck 100, and all that shit. Exactly. You naturally gonna go into every single position giving 30% of the most concentrated energy. The most concentrated energy. That's why love is so impactful when it's actually used in the truest aspect of intent. That's why that shit destroys shit at first. Love got to destroy old aspects. So you take that 30% of concentrated you and put it into a space. And now you come into a space with somebody else that is putting equally 30% of their concentrated energy into a space. That shit destroys everything. I'm going to let you, here's some crazy shit. Just because you haven't learned how to do it naturally, that's what happens naturally. But you can't understand it when you got them closed off gates. If you ain't done that unification process, you ain't done that shadow work, you ain't gaining to like, nigga, that's me. You ain't accepted those aspects of you, you still, that amount of energy is always put into that space. But it's undisciplined. It's undefined energy. That's why motherfuckers get into their job, and you expect so much out of that relationship, so much out of that job based on that predisposition that you have into the thought process of yourself, based on the imprint of your past. So now you sitting there like, you stuck in your past. And I can show you how you stuck in your past because you always bring up stuff from the past. You can't live in the now. Depth is only found in the now, period. Depth is only found in the now. The past is to be understood, and the future is to be projected from the understanding of your past. That's the depth in the now. But if you stuck in that old imprint and existing, my mom was a single mother, my father was a single father, my uncle raised me, my aunt raised me, my aunt touched me, my uncle touched me. There was some guy that said he was our uncle, but he wasn't really part of the family, and that motherfucker was always over there. You stuck in that old imprint of mindset. So it don't matter how much you can synthesize. And this is the realest shit, because motherfuckers have done it, because that's what this fucking realm is built on. The deception quality, and you see it in Love and Hip Hop. You see it in Love and Hip Hop. You see it in all these fucking shows. I sat here to the last couple of days. I don't know why the spirit said, nigga, you should watch the game. And I was like, why do I want to watch the game? And I sat here and I watched the 5 seasons are on Netflix. I watched every season of the game, and I sat here with my psychologist hat on and broke down all of the toxic impulses, all of the toxic or the emotional impulses of trauma bonding and not really getting into yourself in the damn show. And I was like, yo, if you knew what the fuck you was looking at, you know how to study it. Yes. If you knew what you were looking at, you wouldn't tell nobody not to watch the news. If you knew what you were looking at, you would tell them you wouldn't have to sit there and worry about not watching television. Television is the motherfucker. Television is the same. Television goes under the same aspect of me going into a church. Me going into a church, an empty church. I don't go into a church with people in it because people are going to be like, I don't care about that. But I go into an empty church and sit in the back, find a nice little wooden pew sitting in the back, one of the old black churches. I go sit in the back and I just sit there and I just allow myself to become open in the space because I know the energy that's within that space. motherfuckers releasing all their energy into that space in hopes of getting something in return. Because unconsciously, they don't understand to give, you must, in order to get, you got to give. That's the natural way of this shit works. In order to get, you got to give. What are you giving? So they give up all of their energy to get some emotional closure based on an emotional impulse. So I can walk in there and sit in there. I'm not doing it on emotional impulse. I understand the formula. So when I go into that space, give me that shit. Give me that energy. Give me that shit. Exactly. Watch that shit like a fucking movie. Give me that shit. Whew, that shit feel good. I love it. Every day, Monday through Thursday, I go to the gym. Friday will now become yoga Fridays for me. I don't know why I said that. That's how to say it. But you inside of that space, every day when I go to the gym, I'm at the gym. I wake up, I'm up at like 4:30, meditation from 5 o'clock to 5:15, very intense. And that's also the definition about intense. That's also a very intense aspect of when you're doing an intense meditation. An intense meditation does not mean you got to be sitting there for 8 hours in meditative stance. An intensity is only based upon your definition of intensity. That means you're able to synthesize your energy into a space. So if I sit down from 5 o'clock to 5:15 every single day and allow myself to bring everything from the strongest realm, because I just left the witching hour. The spirits are still there. That veil is gone. So I'm pulling all of that energy into that space and I'm embodying. I'm like, swallow that shit. Then I go to the gym. The gym is my first catalyst of working that energy out. Getting that energy out and working that energy out. I'm not suppressing anything. This key is not to suppress anything. Allow that shit to rise to the surface because it shows you the triggers of what the fuck you need to be learning. Yeah, put yourself in the space where the fuck you want to grow and want to learn. I'm gonna give y'all a crazy ass dream I had. So Panic just dropped. I'm not talking about the one that no one can see. Panic just dropped the lecture on YouTube. I want to say a couple of like last week sometime. I did not watch that lecture. I still have not watched all three of the lectures, 3 parts of the lectures, and I did not watch that last lecture. Last night, Thursday night, I had my vision dream came open, and I was sitting there having a conversation with Panic. This month, the elder told me that he watched my videos. And he said he loved what I said about the aspects of everything leading back to shadow work. The other day, no, that was Wednesday, because Thursday was yesterday. Thursday, I was sitting here, I was cleaning up and shit, doing my normal thing. I was like, I'm gonna watch. I don't know what turned on the spirit said, turn on the lecture. Everything Panic said within that lecture, we had that conversation in that dream a day before, like days before. I've been had those aspects of those dreams. I was like, everything lead back to shadow work. Even the level of peace that nigga say that he's at right now is based on your shadow work. You coming into that space is not about the information. It's about actually learning. Once you have that information, you take that information into your authentic self, and now you build your authentic self. How are you defining it? How are you looking at the aspects that are within your life at this very moment in the now? Not based on 400 years a slave, 12 years a slave, 600 years a slave, all that bullshit as a fucking slave. Because until you understand your now, you can't unlock that. Because that's unlocked by you understanding the point where you're at now. That energy transmuted you to this point now. So if you still stuck on that, you're going to be just like the motherfucker sitting there. Yo, we going to go revolt and go on Capitol Hill. That's why the shit looks so funny to us now. That's why shit is looking funny as hell to us now. That's why you got Trump and they said that's why Trump can put up tweets and you're like, nigga, ain't none of this shit fucking serious. But there's still motherfuckers arguing back and forth about nigga, we're androgynous and androgynous means this as compared to this, and then you got motherfuckers still trying to use it based on attachment instead of understanding the connection of your true self. You're not being, most motherfuckers are not being their authentic selves. I'm in my authentic self. I'm truly, unapologetically the most compassionate, most at peace being that you'll ever meet. And I love that. I love me. I've embraced all of the facets and all of the little broken shards of glass that were me. I've learned those aspects. I've polished these aspects and I've put them in place to make my shit more precise, to make my impact more precise. I'm no longer moving within the aspects of that impact. Your key is to move out of the imprint of you always being in despair, the imprint of depression, the imprint, you unlocking these aspects of these gates so you can now push forward, understanding these elements that you're always been using the elements, but you use the elements in the aspects of the imprint. So we use the element of fire. The element of fire is to purify. But if you're not ready to be purified, you'll be burned alive. The aspect of earth is the ground. But now you have to challenge the aspects of what you thought you were grounded. Those were tethers that kept you locked based into the trauma. When you think about the aspect of the wind, your breath, every breath that you take gives life to every thought that you have, even if you don't speak it. Now you got to really get in tune with your breath. Everything that you're doing is not meant to be like, yes, I'm the best airbender ever. I'm the best water bender ever. I'm the best at using my fire and using my anger. Yes, I'm the best at moving the earth below me. No, you're supposed to be becoming the air. You're supposed to be becoming the last fucking avatar. You're supposed to be becoming the fucking highest aspect of the fucking saying. You're supposed to be becoming the highest aspect of yourself. Not going back and forth. I thought about it. I thought about it the other day when I was looking at American Gods, and I was like, we're the new gods, but they put the narrative of the new gods to be the bad guys based on the old gods. So the reason that so think about it, everything's within the imprint of your subconscious. So you look at the old gods and you share on the old gods, but you ain't never listening to what they saying. These motherfuckers talking about worshiping them. Nigga, I don't worship nobody. I am the temple. What the fuck do I need to worship? The villain makes more sense. The villains always made more sense. The thing that made sense with the good guy was the good guy used his heart and his intent was in his heart to be something better. The bad guy had to have all of the aspects of this one of us get trapped in too much dark and too much light. So you look at the light workers. I have everything that I need, and everything that comes to me is now toxic. And then you have the motherfuckers in the dark. They hide from the aspects in themselves. Yeah, man, you got to be angry. You got to use your anger. You got to be angry all the Using your anger and being angry all the time are two different things. Being angry all the time and using your anger are two different things. Because once you understand that all of that energy comes, that ether that helps your soul burn slow, is all the same energy within that space, then you're like, oh shit. That's why when we saw the Incredible Hulk and it's always going to boil down to your heart. One thing that I noticed, and that it took me a little bit to actually catch it for myself, was it's never been about the mind. I did the Heart is Mind lecture last year for Valentine's Day. Very big ritual for me. You're not looking at the aspect. We're stuck within the childlike mind, which is impressionable, as opposed to the childlike heart, which is the innocence. The path of the heart, which is the innocence. I have a childlike heart. Therefore, it flows into the aspects of the impression. You're not changing. You're not taking yourself into this space of you're disclosing and giving yourself the definition of these old imprints so you can now make new impacts within the structure. The structure is already built. It's already been divinely designed. This is what they always talk about. Like, you've always been divinely designed. You've always had the soul. You've always been righteous. All of these aspects. Yes, you have. But based on the emotional imprint, based on those emotional impulses, through the traumas, you got stuck, and all that shit went into those, all that shit filled those imprints. So you can't put nothing else inside of it. So now you sitting there like, nah, man, because you know the white people. I've told the stories about the white people that I knew. I've told the stories about the white people that I know. They either dumb as a box of rock. They needed me for some reason. I really was able to sit there once I was like, I never had that thought process. And then it made me laugh when I heard the Lil Wayne interview, and everybody got mad at the Lil Wayne interview years ago. I ain't never experienced racism. That nigga never did. What's so wrong? What's so wrong with him saying that statement? Other than someone sitting there saying, nah, man, because they killing us. Nigga, they setting us free. The reason that you got triggered, nigga, have you done the work that you need to do to get set free? Have you done the work that you needed to do to get set free? Think about it. Really think about it. Be honest with yourself. I ain't worried about shit. I ain't stressed about shit. Down to the core of understanding what truly synthesizing the aspect of what death is. I've been killing people all fucking week. I'm gonna kill even more people going forward. I just set up my automatic message that for people that are not a part of my soul, not a part of the soul tribe, that if you send me a question, or you want to build on something, you want to send me a question about anything, especially if it's a service that I provide, especially if it's something that I've already spoke on, guess what you're gonna get? You're going to get this nice little automated message that's going to tell you that it is $30 for a pre-consult fee to answer for me to answer that question. Don't worry, because that $30 fee is non-refundable. But guess what? There's more. That $30 fee can be applied to any service based on, I want to set up the quality assurance of reciprocity of my energy. That's my authority. What am I going to receive? I'm going to receive 6 or 17 more fucking emails and messages from people talking about you should not be holding the information that you have from your people. It's not about the aspects of the money. It's about the aspect, are you willing to invest in your actual aspects of growth? I'm not here to give people information in that space. If you want to get information, if you want to get the generalized scope of information, tune into a lecture. You want to get the generalized information, tune into a podcast. You want to get generalized information, tune into a live on my IG or my Facebook page. But if you need something personally defined and detailed to you, channeled to you, and you want me to put that energy into that works, guess what you got to do? You got to hit that line and invest. Because how can I move? How can I? And that's going to make money. You're applying this. This is the narrative that you're applying based on that $30 is the 30%. You see how that's how the formula activates. That 30% is the $30. The same way with the business mentality. 70% of my energy goes into the business. The profit is the 30%. You get profit from 30% naturally anyway. Because 70% of my revenue that comes in for everything I do, from donations and support all the way to doing services, 70% is broken down into the aspect of the taxes, that if I do the taxes that I got to pay or whatever has to be paid, operational costs, innovation, and all operational costs automatically off top to keep my world running. The same thing that happens whenever you had a job at another place. The reason that you keep getting shipped from job to job, here's something to really think about. Are you learning the aspects of what the job is there for? Or have you surrendered to the attributes of what the job is for? I remember submitting to the attributes of what the job was for. The job was my biggest playground of being taught, that taught me. Because in my job, I was taught like, they got overhead. They got to do the promotion, operational costs. They were within the 70%. They had the 70% went to that. 30% was split down to 15% went to the management, and the other 15% was broken down into the employees. I noticed that I kept getting more the higher that I went up. So my 15% as an employee was different than the 15% I got as a manager when I was holding keys. But something inherently let me know that there's a ceiling there. And until I have authority over that ceiling in my life, I can't really do anything. That ceiling is blocked by the emotional impulse for yourself. That ceiling that stops you, the shit that's been stopping you, that ceiling is your emotional impulse that keeps feeding the intellect that keeps that ceiling strong. But I've said that shit before. Their ceiling, the ceiling down here for human thought is the floor for your genius and your intelligence. So me understanding that floor, that ceiling is where the human thought stops. So human thought goes away. That means everything connected to human thought goes away. Everything from attachment, everything from the needing, everything from the wanting, everything that's on an external aspect goes away. Gotta let that shit go. Gotta allow it to fall away. It gotta go. It gotta fall away. Because that's the only way I can get up there. Or else I'm gonna be like this. And I'm gonna give you this thought on that. Dip this and fill this with my stuff. That's what I'm letting it do that. Think about it like this. There's a slit, there's a grate standing over some shit right there. You drop down there some candy or whatever. Or you drop your favorite pin down in that fucking little hole. You can't move the grate, it's too heavy. You can slide your hand down there. You can slide your hand down into this grate. But if you make a fist, you can't pull that shit back out. Period. You can't pull that shit back out. So you have to release into that space what you thought was love. Based on the feeling of thought, you got to release it into there. Guess what you just did? That's the sacred energy exchange. Are you willing to release into that space? Because it's already been defined. We got to stop holding on to things that have already been defined. That's the addiction process. You define that as happiness. You got to let go of what you defined as happiness. You define that as what makes you sad. You got to let go of what you defined as sadness. You got to let that creation go. What you created based in that space of the old self or based on the imprint, allow it to fall away. Because until you do that, you're going to naturally keep following. That shit going to naturally keep following you. One thing that I saw that was that was trippy. It's on, I want to say it's like season 4 of the game. Season 4 of the game. Not just the game, but Star Trek and all that good shit. But season 4 of the game. And Tasha couldn't let go of. Tasha was wounded, hurt, based on she always went back to her first relationship with Malik's father, hated Malik's father, all of these things coming in. She built up this whole entire narrative to herself about Malik's father and fed that to Malik. In that season, she introduced him to his father. He found in his life, his wife is the bargain basement version of Tasha, like same mindset and everything. But he has accepted this in an aspect based upon guilt that he did not do what he needed to do going forward. So that impression, I am the embodiment of the original creation. Until he came to the point and said to her, and he says to her, he was like, I did handle it poorly. I did when I was a sheltered kid. I did what my parents said, and I went away to college. But now I regret every single day that I did not spend time with you. I didn't spend time with Malik. I was not a part of your life. He said that to her, a weight lifted off of her because it started her healing process. He said that shit That was a healing process for him. Letting that shit go, letting that old narrative go. Because once you let it go, that's where that attachment kicks in. You're like, but what am I going to do now? That's what a lot of people are afraid of right now. Still to this fucking day, I see motherfuckers arguing back and forth as the Lord Shiva, as the Baphomet, as Ganesh, sitting on my fucking throne, building my fucking kingdom. I'm just watching motherfuckers do dumb shit every fucking day, and I'm just laughing at it. I now understand in full, like when Bobby Hinn was like, when you wake up, you just gotta look at this shit like, nigga, this shit here. This is really what they think that this is really what they doing. Without you becoming, it is not based on you being angry, like you want to go stand there and go make a stand. Is you really sitting there like, that isn't triggering me. You looking at it to see, to catch the trigger, to catch the vibe of that trigger. Is that triggering me? Oh, it didn't trigger me. What did I learn from this lesson about me moving in my impulse based on emotion? I have more work to do. It's okay to say you got more work to do. Because that's the application process. Me right now, I'm in the application process. So it's like now I'm applying what I've learned thus far. And when I find out about as I'm moving thus far, that's when this type of shit come through and it make more sense. Because I've read something else that matches this. The more authentic you become, the more synthesized that you become in the unity of yourself, the stronger that 30% comes that you put into every single situation. You putting 30% in regardless because they're going to put in 30%. Because when you bring it in balance, it's two conduits bringing in 30%. So if I'm bringing in 30% into this game, into whatever it is, whether it be a business relationship, whatever partnership it may be, and you bring in 30%, that's now the 60%. But now we can break that shit down because 15% of that 30% you bringing in is based on your foundation. And the 15% that I'm bringing in is bringing in that new foundation. That creates a new 30%. Now that foundation is structured so it can now build and grow, allowing it to do what it need to do. The structure that we build that's based on your 15 and my 15, that brings that in there. Okay, cool. Now that's 60%. That's the 60% module. That leaves the 40% in the creation. The intent stays the same. If my intent is to be open, I know myself to be open. I'm already happy. I'm everything that I already need to be. I don't have to change my intent. My intent is already sound. My intent is my core, is my sole purpose. So when I go into any space, I'm moving in my sole purpose. I'm not sitting there worried about, but what if they leave me or what if this happened? And that means it's done and it's over with. We got to get out of that mindset of like, maybe if I do this, you starting to shift your shit back upside down. You starting to you're going to start trying to put more into that space to make it do something else. It's not designed for that. That's why it don't work. That's why motherfuckers get in business relationships, and based on not knowing themselves and not really doing that work, and them triggers start coming up where they get the impulse to be emotional, and you sitting in that space, you like, oh, burnout. It's a burnout because the impulse is a projection. The impulse is based on the projection of the light. Your impact is based on the quantifying that to become that laser beam of that genius in your intelligence building that space. Instead of you sitting there like, yeah, but it should be like this. If that's how you feel, go create your own. Show me the example. Because that's what my intent is. My intent is to become the example. So if you can't come to me with an example, this is when you start looking at motherfuckers, especially with people like, yeah, man, but you know, that ain't going to work because this is and this. But meanwhile, they have no example. They have all of the words. They have all of the thought or the feeling of the action, but they can't give you any patterns. They can't give you a business plan. They can't give you a book. They can't give you any information within that space. But what they can give you is an emotional downtrodden. You want to be rich? You want to be rich? You want to do this? You want to do that? You want to be like, okay, cool. They'll give you an emotional algorithm that you'll sit there and get stuck on based on the attachment. He made me feel so good. She made me feel so great. Okay, what the fuck does that mean to me? You don't understand. He makes me happy. What the give me? Okay, he makes you happy. My definition has always been, I'm already happy. You coming into the space makes me happier. I'm already at peace. That means when you come into the space, I'm more peaceful. I'm more in my euphoric sense. If you come into that's going to be your build. I'm in the divine union of myself. So to exist within this space, you got to be willing to commit to the evolution into your divine self and accept the process of what we're going to be doing into this. Oh, yeah, we on fire. That's your design. Because once you let go, everything gonna fall into place as it need to fall into place. Once you let go, what's already naturally happening, you'll be able to sit back and see. It's gonna do it regardless. Everything's going to fall into position regardless. But you have to step back to see it. Remember, I've said it earlier on in lectures. It's like I can't fix anything at the level that it's at. That means I can't be like this trying to fix something at this level. I got to be above it to experience. I got to be above it to observe it, or I'm below it to experience it. You got to be honest where you at in your space. Are you below it so you have to experience it, or are you above it so you now can observe it? There's levels. That's the levels. I'm in a lot of the things that I'm in right now I'm in a state of observance. If I meet someone where I'm not in a state of observance, I notice that my meditations is off. I'm always in a meditative state. So I'm always in a charging state. When I lay down and I close my eyes, I'm always in a projecting state. I'm always in an astral projection state. I'm always going somewhere. Having conversations somewhere, building somewhere, doing something of that nature. Just the other day, like I had to shake myself awake because I could not. Shit, nigga. I was like seizing. I was like, nigga, let me just lay here for a little bit longer. I don't feel like, no, I don't want to do it. But now you build into your space. Defining is based upon the authority of you. It's always been based on the authority of you. Your energy speaks for you, even if people cannot understand the language of your energy, your defined energy. Even if they don't understand that aspect, they still feel your energy. They're going to feel it through their filters. So they're going to take it through their filters. It's not your job to sit there and try to define your energy. But if they bring something up, it's always worth to listen to. Because now you have discernment. You're not using judgment. Everybody want to say this and this and this and this and this and this. Nigga, I use discernment with everything that I listen to. That's why I can sit here. That's why I can sit here in any position and I can really see that the substructure for a lot of people that have built their structure, they've built it on the upside down model of the 70% down here and the 30% up there. So they thinking, even unconsciously, even the super woke motherfuckers, they're thinking the 30% needs to be reached by everybody coming online with that 70%. But the very definition of esoteric is the few the few chosen, the enlightened ones, the only ones that are meant to come through that. So if you sitting down here and you putting 70% of your energy into this space, that means you're only putting 15% into your creation and 15% into your intent. That means you putting 40% into your foundation down here in the physical of attachment, and you're putting another 30% into the structure based on attachment. You're going to be living in a state of emotional impulse. This is why you see motherfuckers, as soon as the motherfucking shit happened at the Capitol building, 97 fucking videos popped up talking about the fucking event that happened at Capitol Hill. Immediately, motherfuckers tuned in, but like, nigga, we got it. Yeah, nigga, that's the next. They ain't learn how to charge themselves. They need your energy into that space. Meanwhile, we are seen as the 30% or the enlightened ones in the higher aspect. Nigga, that ain't us. That ain't our fight. All right, cool. That's what's supposed to happen. All right, cool. That's what's supposed to happen if we take ourselves out of the. What do you think would happen if that is the exact movie credit rolling of exactly what is supposed to happen within the space if you remove yourself? That's what you get to see now. It's like if you no longer in a relationship with somebody that was not learning shit and then you stepped out of it, you just stepped out and now you looking at them and you like, you remove all of the filters, all of the excuses. After a while, you're going to see it for what it really is. That's what you would need. That's what you needed to do. Remove every aspect of what they use as an aspect of them saying, I can't do this because of this. I can't do this because of this. And I can't do this because of this. Even for yourself. Now remove all those aspects. Now what are you? What is your energy now? If you didn't have half of the shit that you had, what would you be right now? You can hope, you can have a dream, you'll have a whole dreamscape in your mind. I would be the president of the committee of so and so and whatever the fuck it is. Okay, more external shit. What are you? Who are you? What are you? Who are you? Ask yourself the real fucking question. Be honest with yourself. Set yourself up for the aspect of what you need to learn. You're not going to get anything until you actually initiate by asking that fucking question. Because most people right now are in the space of, don't nobody want to help me, or don't nobody want to do this shit right here, don't nobody want to do this. Or, nigga, have you said that you needed the fucking help? Have you invested in the aspect of asking or being humble to yourself? But like, yeah, I need this and I need that. Or are you stuck in an aspect where you want to constantly put everything as an external figment of like, it's that fault, it's that person's fault, that person did this person did that, now that person hates me, this person hates me. But meanwhile, that person sitting over there and you wondering why you can't fucking get to them because they didn't give a fuck. They didn't care. I started a lot of the shit just in the last couple of years. I don't care. But I have compassion. I have understanding. I have acceptance. I got the AAA policy. I got my AAA insurance policy. I'm good. Acceptance, accountability, and apology. That leads to my forgiveness and me being thankful within that space. That leads to your emotional maturity. That leads to your emotional maturity. Now you're more emotionally mature to be self-aware of certain situations. Because it's not going to be, as long as you're in this space, there's always going to be something that is going to trigger you. There's always going to be a test as long as you're here. Always. There's always going to be a test as long as you're down here. Because that's what this shit is set up for. You can get to a point, it's gonna go from being less of the physical aspect and more into the mental. Because those are the things that exist in this realm. The physical and the mental create this realm. the physical being the foundation, the mental being the foundation, or the mind being the foundation, and the physical being the structure. That's naturally what creates this space. You understanding the engines and the motors that work within you will help you be able to attune and adapt and move through this space. That's all within the higher aspect of yourself. That's 70%. But if you steady want to put, by all means, do it. Do it. Thou wilt. Do it. That's love. Good. Go ahead. Keep doing it. That's great. If that's what you feel you need to do, keep doing it. If that's what you feel that's your mindset and your process of where you need to be at, keep doing it. You can continuously do it, and you're continuously getting the same shit. And eventually you're going to be like, you're going to get so fed up and frustrated that you're going to burn yourself out. Burn the light out. Start over. And now you got to start the fuck over. In this space and fucking time. Even down to when I looked at the news and they were like, I remember I saw a post. Exactly. And that leads me into the aspect of undisciplined within aspects of your. I can't love nobody because I love to. I heard the most toxic song on the radio today ever in the life. I think it's the new Usher song. He was like, I like love, but I got too many bad habits. I was like, nigga, you just promoting undisciplined aspects of love. There's no such thing as loving too fucking hard. I've said that before. We don't go deep in right now. Love is your law. If love is the ultimate aspect and that highest frequency within the forgiveness, gratitude, and all of these higher aspects, now you have to define what that love is doing to you. Defining it is being able to acknowledge these triggers. So once again, you are not loving too hard. You're simply loving in an undisciplined sense. You ain't got no discipline in yourself. Therefore, of course, you're going to feel like you loving too hard because you in the imprint of undisciplined aspects. Because you got a predisposition in your mind that if I do this, the 12 by 12 mentality, you stuck within the 12 by 12 mentality. That means if I put in this many hours of love, plus this, if I put in this much energy of my love with this many hours, it equates to this. So that means I should get anything that I want because I'm putting all of my energy into that love. I'm putting all of my structure into that love, into that space. Your foundation got holes in it because you building it based on the old imprints of the trauma anyway. So your structure naturally got holes in it because you putting on top of it the experiences based on the trauma of that space. This is why most people, are sitting there. I'm fighting for love and I don't like loving people and it's time for me to be alone. But you never truly embrace being alone. You never truly embrace being alone. Because once you embrace being alone, you realize that you're never fucking alone. You got to grow through it. Not just say, I've mastered being alone by going to Applebee's for my own I save money at Applebee's and I save money going to go shop for myself. And no, you stuck on byproducts. The undisciplined comes on trying to keep the byproducts in the byproduct in play. Money's naturally going to happen. The relationship's naturally going to happen. Those are the naturally occurring elements within the space, within this inherently flawed space. Because those are the things that are going to be your teachers. But if you look at it from the exoteric point of view, you'll look for a relationship before you look for the aspect. You'll put into any relationship and make that dumbass contract. You got to accept me for me. This is something that I thought about even before I got on. I was like, I want no one around me that simply loves me for who I am. I want no one around me that simply loves me for who I am. I want the love. I don't want somebody that's a sole purpose. Think about it. I don't need anything around me that will have to state I love you for who you are, because in my mind, naturally, fundamentally, in the imprint, it's telling me that I don't have to change. So I become comfortable in that thought process. So when things now pop up that trigger naturally that's supposed to happen in that space, because it's going to happen regardless, I'm fighting against it. Accept me and commit to your evolution. As long as you commit to evolution to you primarily, and I'm committed to the evolution to me primarily, that's our intent. That's our foundation in that space. When we build that structure, going to be stronger than anything else that ever happened, because it's not going to be based upon attachment. It's going to be based upon strictly organic connection. That way, when things pop up, we're able to deal with them in the fashion that they need to be dealt with, in stimulating the intelligence of our genius and not based on emotional impulse. That way, we can also become self-aware in that situation where we at, job, whatever it may be, that I can see it for what it is and take it for what it was. So if it's time for me to move on, it's time for me to move the fuck on. I'm not like, man, I didn't get what I didn't get what everybody else got. What did everybody else get? The physical aspect? You stuck on the physical aspects of this shit? I ain't stuck on nothing fucking physical. That's a byproduct. Because when you look at just looking at certain people after a while, you like, this motherfucker ugly as hell. Just by how they think, how they put together things in their mind. They ugly as fuck. Everybody else looking at them from the surface value, but you can look deeper. I see fucking seeing energy, being an empath and defining the energy and the filters in my boundaries is one of the major keys, because when I look at an individual, if they're hurting, I can see everything from the inner child reaching out to me to the inner child sitting in a corner. Sometimes I'll be sitting there doing sessions and like the person is talking and they're just letting everything out. And sometimes my mind I like detach from myself and I'm like, I feel myself tapping on my shoulder or blowing in my ear. I feel my Harry Potter, my inner child hitting me in my head, trying to get my attention and say, look over there in the corner. And I'm like sitting there in a video call or a Zoom chat with somebody, and I can see their inner child sitting in the corner like, I wish somebody would come play with me. Most people, that's what most motherfuckers are attached to. Their inner child needs someone to come play with them. They forgot how to color. They forgot how to explore life. They forgot all of this shit because you allow all of these other things to attach to you in that space for you to be where you at. So now you're sitting there, more resistance to the aspects of what triggers you to actually come into the love of yourself. Not the biggest thing that I'm gonna tell anybody is like, nigga, you need water. That's one of my biggest things that I tell anybody. My stomach hurt. I need water. You need some water. My head hurt. You need some water. Man, I'm having anxiety attacks. You need to meditate. I'm gonna give one word answers to the fuck. You gave me a generalized thought process. I'm gonna give you a generalized in exercise. You need to meditate. Nah, that ain't what I need. What do you need? I don't know what I need, but it ain't meditation. What do you think meditation is? Clearing your mind. Meditation is not clearing your mind. Man, but I've been taught that it was clearing my mind. I'm here to tell you that it's not clearing your mind. You need some water when you first wake up. You need some water. Man, but it'd be hard sometimes to drink all that water. Your body's 70% water. Yeah, like it's okay to set your fucking parameters in your space because you're not the key is not to define it in this space of not you. When I define my parameters, like I define my parameters into the aspect of my evolution and my cultivation. I'm at the gym 4 days a week. Exercises, my workouts is getting crazier, my recovery is getting crazier, but I'm not solely sitting here saying that I go to the gym. If it triggers somebody to be like, damn, you go to the gym every day, that means you really fit. I'm like, yeah. But if it triggers somebody, oh, you might be this, and it. Because what's naturally going to come up, because I'm open into the space, my intention is always to learn. Within my intention block, my subconscious is to learn, is to always provide the information within that space to make somebody based on impact. I'm always going to make an impact. You always make an impact regardless. You always going to make an impact. But have you defined how your impact affects that? Have you defined your impact? Once you get out of that imprint mindset, filling up the old aspects of yourself and keeping yourself in that old fucking song and dance, you really can start impacting some shit. I made fucking decrees and statements in the first. I made decrees and statements in the first couple of weeks, first couple of days of January that I set in place back in fucking July. The depth is in this now. It's not about, that's going to be your key. It's not about letting the rebellious side go. It's about allowing the rebellious side to, because you're the rebellious side of yourself, the broken side, the rebellious side, the savagery, all of those sides of yourself. It's about being able to define that first. Yes, I am rebellious. Because one of my top things is detached and rebellious. Me being an Aquarius, I'm detached and I'm rebellious. Detached, rebellious, but I'm also very intelligent. I'm also very innovative. I'm also very these. But to get to these higher aspects, I have to sit there and look at my rebellious side and really, to the rebellious side of yourself is your inner child that has not been disciplined. So when your rebellious side kicks out, you're going to go into this space of your mind where you're like, I'm defining what my rebellious side triggers. Why does my rebellious side be triggered in these spaces? It's not about the suppression aspect. It's about saying, nigga, whenever I'm like, I put it like this. Whenever in my earlier works of my earlier aspects of my shadow work, whenever I felt myself becoming detached from a situation, whether it was through me being angry, so I use anger as a form of detachment. I get really mad and no motherfucker want to be around me. Or I get really sad and nobody want to be around me. Or I be extra happy and then motherfuckers don't want to get around me. Or whatever emotion that I was using at that time. Whatever way I was defining my energy through that stream of emotion to activate my detachment. So then at a point in time, I was suppressing my detachment. It's going to be a hell of a day. So now that I look at my aspects of my detachment, I look what triggers my detachment. I look what triggers my rebellious side, because that is going to be the contradiction or the nexus point for me to learn myself in that space. So it's now like, if I have a sense of, like, use for example, Trump on TV, that's not my president, so you rebel against Trump not being your president. Sit there with that thought. Meditate on that. You have an existence. Sit there in that thought and really sit there and be like, why am I rebelling against this thought? What is the real aspect of me rebelling against this thought? What is the real aspect of me rebelling against this? Why am I going against that? And this is where you learn to discipline yourself, because the discipline is not going to be within suppression. Discipline is going to be in allowing that energy to move. You're allowing it to make you uncomfortable within that space. That's simply like when I tell people, when I give clients a notebook reading. I'm like, for the next, someone to come be like, I keep seeing numbers. I got to get another angel number book. I've burned this one out. When you're looking at angel numbers, for example, so you open up that book and let's say, for example, my friend list went to 727 people. I know why it went to 727 people. That's neither here nor there, burst on emotional impulse. It dropped down to 727 people. I was sitting here doing meditate and elevate, and my book sitting right here in this space over here, because I got multiple offices in the same space. Minimalism. But 727, I kept looking at the number 727, like, why my friend list went down to 727? I was like, the spirit want to give me a message. Here's my message that I read. You are the magician or the magi. You are the priest, I'm the priest and the priestess. I'm both. You are the connector of the realms. The power and presence of heaven are within you now. So when I had the thought to where the emotional impulse to be like, why the fuck my friend list dropped? Because it came up. I didn't suppress this by saying, man, fuck them anyway and all that shit. I went to my numbers, opened it up. I was like, and then I really took the time to really think about where I was at that point. So I could look at the past line of events and see how deep I can go into the past set of events, not just on what I said that day or what I said the last couple of days, because as soon as you say it, remember it's in the past. So that past stream of thought, I looked at it and I was looking where I was at. And I looked at my future escape of thought. I peeked into it a little bit, saw where I was at. Yes. 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 Don't don't sit there and be like, he ain't my president, but he's the chief aspect that gave you the money. So it's not about the aspect of this side or that side. It's how are you using the energy in a whole. So if you get a stimulus check, you get whatever you do. For example, use that 70-30 rule. 70% of your stimulus check, because this is what people are going to do on emotional impulse. But I got bills I got to pay, and I got this I got to get caught up on. You're going to get caught up on to be behind again. Just to be honest with you. But going into the aspect of that number, so I looked at 727 popped up. I looked at 727. I embraced it. I looked at it. I was in the aspect of meditating. I think that was like on a Tuesday. It was on a Wednesday. Wednesday night, I got a conversation from my man's Will. My man Will hit me up and he called me. He was like, yo, he saw one of my live videos. He saw one of my lives on Facebook. He was like, yo, I see you got your LLC going. And we had a 45 minutes to an hour conversation. In my mind, it was 45 minutes. It probably was longer. I don't know. I don't really think about time anymore. But I synthesized it in 45 minutes. So we had a good 45-minute conversation. And we broke down things about the aspect of business with him saying the thing about the 70%, the 30%. He was like, you remember how we always used to think like everything that we got, we invested in. If we use a Charmin to wipe our ass because we got stock in it or whatever, that's the same mentality that I've used to keep going forward. And seeing your videos is like, I'm seeing that you in that lane. So when I dropped on Thursday, this is that spirit, direct interaction, moving, no half step, keep going forward. Thursday, I dropped the 70-30 lecture. The 70-30 meditation, and elevation and broke down those percentages because I allowed myself to sit with that information. I was ready for that information. When it comes to you, it's just because you're ready for it. Whether it's the negative or the positive aspects within your life, when it comes to you, it's time for you to deal with it. At this point in time, there is no more of that half step of like, let me step around it, let me step over it, let me step under it. It's stepping through it. The key of you stepping through that information, the key of you stepping through the darkness is not allowing it to is defining the authentic self. As you're going through the shadows, you are defining the authentic self. So as you go through these shadows, natural aspects of yourself are going to be addressed in those triggers that are going to force you to, they're going to fall away as you become that light. Through the dark comes the true light. So you got to go through, there's no going around it because now the shadow's over here. There's no stepping over it because now the shadow's below you. There's no going under it because now the shadow's above you. It's only going through it. You went through way worse and didn't die. Did you die? What died really? My pride. Filters of your ego. The filters of your ego are the shit that dies every time you go through some shit. I slipped down the stairs. I remember I can go back to a time when I was like 8 years ago. I remember like it was an icy ass cold day. I was at my mother's house. We was having I was going out to the car to go get the gifts for my nieces and nephews. And I remember I slipped and busted my ass on the ice because the stairs was like covered in ice. I remember I busted my ass on the ice. I wasn't hurt. Didn't nobody see me. So even in that moment, I was like, nigga, only my pride hurt right now. Because if anybody saw me, then when somebody has saw me or sees you, they can put the reflection of, are you hurt? Are you this? Are you that? They can put the projection on you in that space. That's how that shit works. It only works if you attach to it based on trying to be a part of it or acceptance. I had to go through a lot of levels of moving a lot of layers of trying to be accepted based on the old imprint of I wasn't accepted when I was little. 90% of my powers, 90% of my power, my energy, all my abilities are back online. I had them shits when I was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But that's neither here nor there. My shit was shut off. You came online with all your power. You came in this space with all your power. But coming through that space, going through that light, the shadow dimmed. The shadow lost its power. You came in through darkness. And the defined aspects of the light of the external space that you were in locked you into that space. So now you sat there, and now this is why most motherfuckers come in. I'm all loving light. I'm all loving light. You running away from your darkness. And motherfuckers that always talking about they all team dark side and they darkness, they define their fucking darkness anyway. They using the external aspects to keep defining them. They selfless. When you get to the other side of selfless, it's selfish. It's being selfish. Either here's selfless, the essence of all, and on either end is being selfish. Because now you're selfish within the light or you're selfish within the dark. That ultimate aspect of becoming the authentic self is selfless. Nobody. Except that you have nobody. You are not the body that you're in. You're not the circumstances that you are in. You're none of those things. You're none of these aspects. That's what's going to stop you from getting in the aspect of being resisting everything. You're going to stop. Once you really accept the aspect of releasing and now defining that once you've released yourself into that space, you change everything that's within that space. You're no longer going to be looking like, nah, man, because I don't like opening up, man, because, you know, people like using you opening up against you, and people like using that against you. Who the fuck gives them? That's what they supposed to do. They supposed to use it against you because they're killing off your old self. Everything that happens to you is killing off your old self. Whether they know it or not doesn't matter. Whether they're conscious of it or not doesn't matter. It's the fact that them simply being in that space, they have an inherent thought process to do it based on the defining aspects of them. And they're supposed to hit every one of them triggers and make you feel some type of way. I can't believe she betrayed me. But I loved her. I can't believe he betrayed me, but I loved him. No, you didn't. This is why I don't love, because I love too hard. No, you didn't. You were in thought of the feeling of what love you thought love was, because you haven't defined love within yourself. You haven't defined what discipline within yourself. You got to find that discipline within yourself. That rebellious nature is going to be the key to you finding that trigger. Whether you rebellious, you stubborn as fuck, you detached as fuck, you mean as fuck, whatever as fuck, that's your name, that's your trigger. That's your main trigger. That's the one you're going to use. Okay, that's why everybody keeps saying it to you, because that's the portrait you got to use. That's your opening. That's your opening into your space. That's your opening through the fucking ceiling and turning that ceiling into your fucking your floor, your foundation. That's the key. 1 second. Ooh, child, I gotta go pee. This leads. Yes. That's why it came up. Spirit brought that up into that. That natural aspect of whatever you are is going to be the key of unlocking the trigger into your design of yourself. Just simply being in that space of being the stubborn one, being the stubborn one, the detached one, the chief aspect of your sign. That is your key to getting into your trigger of where you're at and how you need to move forward. Because everything that triggers you to be rebellious, everything that triggers you to put your horns in it or whatever, that's going to be that key. But like, you know what? I need to address this, because if I don't address it, I'm only going to keep repeating it. And I'm going to be sitting there like, oh my God, why does this not seem to keep working? Because at the end of the day, you're only going to be in this based on that emotional impulse of the old imprint. You're going to be sitting there every single day looking at yourself like, but, and you come to someone like me, even, and this is a big, I want to say this before it leaves out the spirit, take the thought out. Look for the individuals that you are studying. The reason I say study all and follow none. Heard. The reason that I always going to say study all and follow none is because everything here, What's your north node? That's a good, that's going to be the key. What's your north node, Melanie P? What's your north node? Your north node, everybody, if you don't understand, your north node is what you are to become. That's what you're focusing on becoming. Your rising sign is what the energy that you're going to be using to cultivate into your becoming. Yeah. See, you're supposed to be, this is the aspects of, for you being rebellious, being the stubborn one, being in that aspect. The Cancer is the natural aspect of you being more vulnerable or allowing yourself to open up. In the stubbornness, the rebelliousness are the triggers that are going to help you to be able to open up to where you usually will sit there and you'll sit there in the space and you'll sit there and close up on yourself to stay within it and not embrace the aspects of the emotion of that sign being the Cancer. That's where you're going to keep, man, I keep knocking myself down. Aspect of Sagittarius, the natural aspects of the Sagittarius within the moon is the subconscious. The Sagittarius is naturally stuck within certain algorithms of themselves based on the fundamentals. So you have to learn from anything that's fundamentally stable of what you used to know is what's in your Sagittarius moon. The Gemini rising is the aspects for you, for the example, the Gemini rising of the masculine and the feminine aspects is understanding these masculine aspects and how they reflect the direct reflection of the feminine aspects within you becoming open and more vulnerable in the aspects of being a Cancer. And that will help you step out of that now because you're always going to be the stubborn one and the rebellious one. But now you're not going to be doing it based on the emotional impulse. You're going to be doing it based on the building that genius or that wanting to know and that intelligence of yourself, that new structure of yourself. So it's like, you know what? My intention is to learn myself, like this something basic, like to learn myself, set myself into that space, and then really to address these features, really to address these old features of myself, because these are the things that keep getting me going back into the same back and forth that I keep going back into. That's the ultimate key. I was saying something also outside of that. What was I saying? We're building into the aspects of those elements. The structure of your new environment has nothing to do with your old environment. Everything you got in your space right now, everything you got, when you start this unification process of yourself, becoming the new structure, that great structure, new structure, it's time to define this new structure. This is where your impact is going to start. Most of us get stuck within the imprint and trying to build this new structure, that new tree. Remember, you can't fall. Once you fell from that tree, the apple tree, the orange tree, the lemon tree, whatever tree you fell from, and eventually, somehow, I know that I'm going to drop a video talking about the different fruits in the metaphorically of the aspects, take them up. You got to come out of that literal sense. That tree was already built. That tree already grew. That tree was already structured. That tree has every logical, it's already been defined. Therefore, it has every logic and reason for why it's there. Yes, you got to detach from these imprints. It's already defined. So when you find yourself, this is a good exercise. When you find yourself waning back to your family tree, back to that old tree of yourself that you fell from, when you find yourself waning, you feel the stubbornness, you feel the rebelliousness, you feel the detachment, you feel whatever your aspects within your chart is. You feel that's the trigger you're supposed to be like, oh, push away so I can now look at it. Because you already fell from this tree over here, I'm going to say apple tree. You fell from the apple tree. The apple falls from the tree, is now on the ground. In order for that apple, I love that one. David must face Goliath. Always you, your soul is king. Oh, yes. I love that. That's 24 to 25. I love that part right in the map. Put yourself into this space for yourself now where you're at. You have to go through the process. See, for most of us, think about the physical representation of that apple got picked up, that all the apples fell off the damn tree. All the apples fell off the damn tree. They got picked up and they got taken to the store. The store, Walmart, Food Line, whatever place it is, it's set for that to sit there for a certain amount of time, existing within that space until it's able to be consumed or somebody buys it. So it has a pre-designed price. The price has already been set for it. It's already been designed for what it's already been defined for what it is. But what if that apple does not get picked up off of that ground? What if you go through the putrefaction process and the deconstructing process and your seed goes back into the ground? That's the new impact. Think about the impact in that way. You go back into the ground. Now you have been deconstructed. Now, as you grow, the new impact is you coming through that soil into your new space as that new structure. It's a new tree being built. It's a new tree being grown. As you're learning these aspects of yourself and mastering these aspects of yourself, you can become the best tree that can nourish. You can be the example of the best tree and nourish the masses, or you can be just another imprint of the same damn orchard. Never reaching your full potential, never getting to where you need to get to because you got stuck within them old imprints of self. You got stuck within the old definition. I'm a father. I'm a brother. I'm a sister. I'm an uncle. What does that mean? Well, they say the uncle's supposed to be or the sister's supposed to be the grandma. Old definitions. They don't exist. They don't exist in the quantum world. Half of the time, motherfuckers keep saying the spirits are mad at me. They niggas is laughing at these motherfuckers. That's the key. Like, what are you celebrating? That's another major key. An aspect of the resistance, of understanding the resistance. Are you celebrating the resistance? Or are you celebrating the becoming? The resistance is always based on the obsolete being. The resistance is always based on the obsolete being. The imprint of the obsolete being. So if you're sitting here in a moment in time, when you really start sitting with yourself and you're like, nigga, I keep doing the same shit I did last year, or I keep going through the same shit. Because some people right now, within 6 months, they're going to be wondering why they're in the same space that they were in last year. Because they didn't catch the pattern. They didn't catch the synthesis of that pattern. Remember, it takes each pattern is based on that 30% we've been talking about through the lecture. Each pattern is based on that 30%. 50% of the structure, 15% of the foundation, replicated. 15% of the structure, 15% of the foundation, replicated. And you just replicate that shit over and over and over again. That's the coding. You coded yourself. But how have you coded yourself? Are you coding yourself based on I am the impression, or I am the embodiment of the press, or I'm the embodiment of the mold that I came from? Or are you going into the aspect that I am no longer that impression? I am the new impact. I am the new mold. I am the new example. Now you got to define this mold. As you define your new mold, this is how you become that impact. This is the authority within yourself. Until you become the authority in your life, and it's not based on people were told they were non-essential. If they were in agreement with that, that's the problem. If their actions agree with the being non-essential, that's the problem. That's the exact problem. You got told everything gets separated down here, but when we look at it based on the separation, now you had essential and non-essential workers. But when you look at it, you like, okay, that's a non-essential worker based on this, and this, and this is an essential worker. But if you were looking at it from the observer standpoint, you step back, you were like, wait, they closed down schools. So that's a non-essential item? So what does that say about the education? How many times has motherfuckers said they don't teach this, they don't teach that, they don't teach this, they don't teach this, they don't teach this? But what did you do But what did you do since they didn't teach that? When you were sitting there in your space, how did you advance? How did you invest in it? The only people that are afraid of change are the ones that are the only ones that are afraid of evolution are the ones that are afraid to invest into their change. How many times have you sat there in a position where you did not invest within the change? That's always going to be the key, because the change is always going to be apparent. The change is always going to be there in that space. How are you investing into that change? How are you invoking your energy when you're within that aspect of the change? Are you looking at it based on the old imprint or the old mindset of yourself? Or are you looking at it like, this is triggering me? What am I to do with this as it's triggering me? What is triggering me? What does this mean? What is the underline of that? Instead of me sitting there like, nah, man, they gotta give us more money. Why? Just so you can sit there and be ahead for a couple of days, just to fall back to being back behind, just so you can do the same thing over and over again. They gotta love me more. Why? Because you have the lack of discipline and the love of yourself, or the embracing of the love and the building into yourself. Acknowledge that you are the constant in every, you are always going to be the constant in every issue and problem in your life. But you are also the solution in every aspect and point in your life. You have a decision to make based on that. Are you going to stay upside down and keep doing that 70% shit down here and the 30% up here? 30% of your intention. So now you only put 50% of your energy into your intention. My next door neighbor side could start a garden, but who's going to maintain that? Exactly. That's the exact example of you setting the tone. Is like, it doesn't like define it for like, if you're doing something, you have to define what you're doing it and why you're doing it. I'm not doing the things that I do based on, I'm not doing it based on that. You should not be doing anything that you're doing should not be based upon this aspect of the external. As you define the internal self, the authentic self, that's when everything comes on. That's when the things start. Everything's already been online. This is the fun fact. Everything's already been online. Everything's already been there. It's not just popping out of nowhere. It's just not becoming visible because you're defining yourself. You're more authentic. That's like, take this aspect. Until I fully understood, and this is a humbling moment, until I fully understood what my job stood for, not in the aspects based on emotional impulse, thinking that my job had to pay me and all of this shit based on aspects of money, but really to see what it was at. The structure of my job is the same way. The structure of my job was structured the same way as my family was. The structure of my job was the same way as the structure of my family. It was my mother was never the problem. My father, my pops, my uncles, my sisters, my brothers, family members, they were never the problem. They were never an issue. It was me. It was always me. It's always been you. All they are reflections of the aspects of the triggers that you need to understand of yourself. It's never been them, ever. It's always been you. If you sat down right now, for example, I sat right here in my living room and closed my eyes and really just sat here and really go back. I've done this exercise many times, and I really go back and I look at the issue with my mother. I look at the issues with my pops. I look at the issues with sisters and brothers, my sister, family members. I will be able to now, once I'm humbled to myself in that space, I will see the pattern within the space. I can see the pattern like, damn, I keep doing this, but I'm the cause. They're only the effect. What you catch on to that, then you understand why you made the contracts that you made before you came down here. I made a post earlier this week. I was like, my fucking spirit was cocky as fuck. Overconfident as fuck. Because the shit that I chose to go through, I was like, the shit that I chose to go through to get to this point, I couldn't fathom it on the human thought process. I had to accept it. I could never see it or understand it until I accepted it. That's going to be your major key. Everything leads back to your shadow work, regardless. The job that you want, the relationship that you want, the love of your life that you are wanting to desire, shadow work. The job, the dream job that's going to leave you fulfilled, shadow work. The vehicle that's going to lead you to that house, the vehicle that's going to drive you into that house, your dream crib, shadow work. It's always going to lead back to shadow work. Everything else is an aspect of showing you how to get into your shadow or manipulate and use your shadow. That's why every time you go that's why every process that you start with meditation, or start with astral projection, or start with a basic fundamental that you build into. Meanwhile, you got other motherfuckers running around here like, man, I read this book on fucking necromancy, so I'm gonna start. Okay, you're doing the subsurface shit, but there's something deeper to it. It's going to feed off of an energy that's within you anyway. The reason that it can feed on that energy so freely and you lose control, you're supposed to lose control, and it ain't supposed to work, and it becomes unstable because you ain't defined the authority of your power. It's more than just saying that you a god. It's more than just saying you a goddess. It's more than just saying any of these aspects. It's more than just saying that you that shit. Because now you got to define that structure. You got to define the intent. You got to define what your intent is based upon. You got to define that creation. Once you define those aspects, now you get to define the foundation and the new structure that's going to hold that space. Because until you do that, what are you really doing? Nothing. You'll never be at rest. You'll never be at peace. You'll never be happy. You'll always need and want something. Well, maybe I should go get this. Says who? The holes don't exist anymore. Your whole perspective is going to change. Allow it to shift. Allow your perspective to shift. I'm at peace. Even when I'm hellified irritated, I'm at peace. Because I can really look at it and be like, why am I feeling irritated? This is not my thought. This thought is not a part of my creation. How is it connected to me? And then I can be aware and then make that shift and make that adjustment. Quantifying the thought. You're becoming more efficient. The 30% is the quantified efficiency of you within that space, of interacting within that space. But until you define that 70%, you ain't doing shit in the 30%. Because you steady going to be in the upside down. No, you're going to steady be in the upside down narrative. Most people right now are moving in the down here. Is they 70% that they putting into the world? They never reach 100%. I don't care how much you try to push and try to get to that motherfucking dream. You'll never reach 100% down here. Period. You'll never reach 100% down here. You'll reach the maximum of 70 if you do it from the backwards aspect. But you'll be reaching 30, but you'll have the external aspects outside of you, the filters the filters and preservatives that give you the 40% that makes it feel like you're at 70%. Meanwhile, the 30%, which is translated into that 10% of your brain, the mind that you are using to sustain that space. The 30% is only equates to the 10% that the 10% of your brain that you're using. That's why it hurts. Because it's all the emotional impulses based on all them dumbass memories that you still stuck to, that you still trying to attain to, and still trying to build on. So now you're trying to fill this big ass space with only 10% of your brain online, with only 30% of your intent, 50% of your intent online, 50% of your creation online. One big example, you got 12-year-olds making millions. You have 12-year-olds right now making six figures. You have 12-year-olds making six figures. Meanwhile, you still wondering, maybe I should go back to do this, or maybe I should go back to do that. You still stuck on the old president of the program. You still stuck on that same the same pattern of, when I get to this age, I'm gonna do this, and when I get to this point, I'm gonna do this. By this age, I should have did this already. By this age, I should have did this already. You sacrificing all of your energy into that. 70%. That's what you're taking the visibility into. 70%. As long as you down here, you're only going to achieve 70% of your internal energy and presence. You're only going to reach 70% of your powers and your gifts in this space. 70%. 30% of the intent of the process to heal, to initiate healing, to initiate your growth, to initiate elevation. 40% is going to be put into the creation of creating the spaces and understanding and becoming self-aware, the acceptance, the AAA mentality of being within that space. And in the other 30% that's going to be in the physical realm is the physical structure and the physical foundation. That's the 30%. But that's concentrated energy. That energy and that impact is only based upon that 70%. That's how the 100% comes into play. Until you understand the design process of where you're at, you're going to constantly still be frustrated. You're going to constantly still be disappointed. I'm trying to guide them and try to make them better. Maybe you ain't a fucking... What are you frustrated about? Do you understand what projection is? Projection is guidance based on being invited. So that's the feminine aspect. The feminine is the guidance and the wisdom. So you must be invited into that space to be able to be like, you know what? But maybe I thought about this. But the only way that you're going to be able to say that without the bias is working on that masculine aspect, those wounded masculine aspects. Same thing goes into the aspect of you being the generator. The generator is the builder. The generator is about response. So now you have to shift from the emotional impulse of reacting based on disappointment, on predisposed disappointments, into the response of understanding why those disappointments were, in fact, where the disappointments came into play. Reflectives are the absorbers. That means you get to show the result. This is the result if you do this. So now you got to step out of trying to initiate all of these things and learn really to sit there and be like, what is this teaching me? Because another big ass key is when you unlock all of those gates within yourself, within your human design, When you start unlocking those gates, you start seeing the connections to the other archetypes. You start seeing your role in your authority of your energy within these other archetypes. You start seeing why you keep seeing the same shit over and over and over again. Why you keep getting fat chicks in your inbox. Why you keep getting these random ass decoys in your inbox. Why these things keep coming up? Because it's triggering something, either that desperation, it's triggering that need for acceptance, it's triggering and bringing it to that, it's coming into that space based on that frequency. You like, nigga, damn, why I keep getting that? I ain't learned it yet. Cause you motherfuckers still looking at the physical aspects. You still got something attached to in the physical shit. You like, man, I don't know why this motherfucker keep, because until you define it, you can't. Remember, I've said that before. Until you define that energy, that shit free. Your energy free until you define it. That's why I can sit here and say, in order for somebody to come into my inbox, my inbox, text message, phone calls, if you're not on the list within the tribe, motherfuckers that I've already worked with or I'm working with, if you're not in that list, you're going to get that message. You're going to get an automated message that's going to tell you, yo, I'm going to actually read it because I don't want to paraphrase it because that sounds bad when I paraphrase it. I am. Let me go here. I'm gonna read my joint. Here it is. This is my automated message for here on out. Hello, you have reached Papa Lucifer. You have received this message because it looks like you are new to the system. There is a $30 pre-consult fee in regards to any questions that is non-refundable, but can be added to future services. This is to provide clients with the best service by way of reciprocating investment to ensure quality assurance. If you would like to continue, click below to submit your payment. And then I got my submit below. Much gratitude to the support, Ashe. There's no ego riding into this. There's no ego in that thought process. That is from the purest aspect of me setting my standard. I know I'm going to get multiple people that are going to hit. I already know because it's natural to this space. You shouldn't be charging people for information and you should be giving. No, it's not the aspect of the money. It's the aspect of, if you really are about this work for yourself and you're humbling yourself to the work, you should have no problem investing into that aspect. If the spirit led you to me, ego is going to be left at the door when you read that message. Exactly. Program the programs. That's all you doing down here is program the programs to work for you. Instead of going back and forth talking about, man, they don't love us and that shit don't fucking matter no more. It don't exist. You literally just saw motherfuckers running up, reenacting the Civil War in your front of your face in the beginning of the fucking year. You literally just saw that. Does it really matter? I literally saw a video before I went live and fixed everything where this woman, another Karen, got upset because she said her neighbors that were black people needed a permit to build a patio in their own backyard of the house that they owned for the last 5 years. Does it really matter? They're only going to repeat the same thing. They're your fucking kids. They're the reflective aspect. They're the reflectors in the physical manifestation. They're going to reflect everything based on behavior. We got stuck. We got stuck in the subjective train of thought to be like that. That's what we need to do to survive here. Oh shit. That's what we that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do to survive here. Wow, I didn't even think about that. That's crazy. But your breath, here's the thing. Your breath controls all of your thoughts, whether you speak them or not. Your breath gonna move all of those thoughts. That's gonna trigger the aspect of the water or the element of water, or that flow of how your thoughts are now being how your thoughts are being used. That's going to bring in the aspect of the air that's going to control that current. That's going to bring that oxygen to that space of that fire to bring you into that space of, am I really using this to purify myself? Or am I sitting in that space of like, I'm not really doing anything? There is no more of this, I'm just going to wait until this happens. Because naturally, whenever you're doing it, you're just saying, fuck everybody else. It's the most selfish aspect. To become selfless is to understand that you have no body. That's the only way you can program the body once you realize that you do not have the body. Because as long as you accepting that you have a body, you are defining your body. How can you define what's already been defined? That's the key to it. It's like if you sit inside of a space, what are you really doing within that space? How are you allowing yourself to evolve? Are you stuck within the old imprint? Do not be one of them 60, 70-year-old people talking about, yo, in order to get to me, you got to get to this and all of that. The old narrative don't work no more. The old narrative is based upon the antagonist and the protagonist. You're both. So how did that exist? The old programming narrative is based upon the trauma. Don't exist no more. Everything leads back to your shadow work. You can keep doing what you're doing. It'll work for you in the environment that you programmed. But don't expect anything new. Don't expect anything exciting to happen in your life. You'll keep going down the same fucking path, the same patterns. Why I keep meeting this person and why I keep meeting that and why this keep happening to me? Why I keep getting fired from every job? Because you didn't understand what that job was. So when the pendulum swung, it was time for you to leave out of that space. Humility. That's the key. Everything down here teaches you humility regardless. That's why that relationship hurts so bad. Whether it's the friendship. But it exposes your attachment. You can fight saying I'm not attached to anything. I'm just numb to everything. Because there is actually a numbing process. But then there's the aspect of letting those feelings in, letting that energy in. That way you ain't sitting there like, oh shit, I'm sorry. Apologizing all the goddamn time. I want you to be the fucking best. This is our question and answer period. While you're formulating up questions, I'm going to do these announcements. January 30th will be the official first launch of the Co-Alchemist book club. In the Co-Alchemist book club, there's a fee to join the book club. There's going to be two different fees. There's going to be one fee for if you bring the book, if you go get the book that we're going to break down and study in the aspect. And there's going to be another fee that is going to be if I provide the book. That means, for example, human design. This book right here, this book on Amazon right now, I want to say it's like $50. If you were to join the book club, your fee would get you this book at it would still be discounted. It would still be discounted for you, but I would go get the book. I ordered the book. I send you the book. But also, as I send you the book, because what you're really paying for that fee, regardless, is paying for the syllabus and the notes, the syllabus that I'm going to build for each book, so we can study, go line by line through the book and real life processes. Similar to when I do a lecture, you hear the podcast and stuff like that. Taking the aspect of really making it to that personal aspect of the learning aspect. So the Gotta Call Alchemist Book Club, I've been still working into that aspect. Still working on that. Still got a lot of things I want to put together in that. But the Gotta Call Alchemist Book Club is coming soon. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be like that monthly shit. Similar. It's going to be it's going to be like that secret society that we're getting into this. We're taking ourselves into the aspect since we've came through the shift of that aspect, and we're now unifying ourselves in that space of being in that enlightened space, so that learning aspect. What else? This week's episode was the God Hour. The God Hour podcast is out now. Peeping on, got into copy and paste. That one's streaming now. Got iTunes, Spotify, all of that narrative into that. If you're interested in doing a build on a podcast episode, email me at setcallerneeds@gmail.com. And we can get that. We'll get that built and get that started together. Schedule that episode. Schedule that, whether remotely, travel, how we get it together. Get it for that. 2 services that I'm providing right now that are inbox and DM only. The gate opening spread, tarot spread reading, 3333, and the healing the inner child spread, which is 4444. Only offering those right now as of inbox at Rock Hollow Nijis, my Facebook or my Instagram at Papa Lucy, Papa_Lucy666, or you can hit the number 910-777-7708, like all them sevens. Because all I want you to do is to become the fucking best. I want you to exceed everything, because that's what I desire of myself. Being open to the design aspect of you, understanding your design, that's another thing that we're working on. In the design of you is going to be free of all of the bias, free of all of the old imprints, and acknowledging those triggers within those imprints. That's the only way you're going to move forward in that motherfucking sense of unity. Everything's going to lead back to your shadow work until you do the work. Doing the shadow work, doing your work is not like doing a job, like a job assignment or certification or homework. You're just simply doing it to pass. Doing your shadow work is the embracing of the symmetry of the possessing of the symmetry of the becoming of your higher self. That's what doing the shadow work is really going to imprint to you. This is what a lot of motherfuckers are not talking about. They'll give you everything around it, but they never get to the aspect of the shadow. I've been through that shit. I'm in that space. I build from that space. I'm here to tell you it works. It changes you. It evolves you. You become it because you're going through it and you're learning not to allow it to augment, not to further augment the authentic self. It's augmenting and distorting the whole of the old self as you're going through these spaces. That is your key. That is what you're coming into. That is your growth. That's what you're coming into. That's the new mentality. 70%, 70-30, the 70-30 rule. 70-30 rule. 70%, 15, like you can, this is just the structure that I use, but 30% of my 70% is my intention. My wanting to learn, my wanting to grow, my wanting to evolve, my wanting to champion, me wanting to become better, me wanting to become more authentic. Boil it all the way down. 30% of my intent is based on my authenticity. The 40% is the creation of the structure around my authenticity of how my energy flows. So then naturally in this 30%, 15% of that is the structure that I create, which is the physical body, which is Papa Lucifer, and 15% is the foundation, which is the environment. Change the perspective, change that mindset. It's cliches to say change the mindset and watch everything change, but it's the truth. You got to change the mindset, not the brain, but the mindset. Acknowledge those old impressions. If you need assistance in acknowledging those old impressions, looking at the old aspects of yourself, gotta call Alchemist LLC. Schedule that consultation. Schedule the consultation. Schedule the consultation. Even if you schedule a reading, you are going to be satisfied. I guarantee that. Because even within a reading is a consultation. So you can get the consultation and go all the way in, or you can get that reading, you're going to get to a little point, then we're going to build from there. I desire you to be the fucking best. There is no more of this, the angry black man, the angry black woman, niggas ain't shit, bitches ain't shit, my job ain't shit, white people ain't shit. Ain't no more of that. Ain't no more of that. It's time to learn that shit. Or you will be returning back here with baby brain. One of my favorite sayings. I trust is always greater than I hope. I want you to be the fucking best. Before we get out of here, I just got led to pull one of these damn cards. I didn't pull one today for y'all. I did a collective reading. You all come back here with baby brain. But before we get out of here, I'm going to give y'all an example. I'm going to give y'all an example. And if the gate reading, I'm going to do a full gate reading right now because I haven't done one for everybody. I'm going to do a full opening the gate reading right now real quick. If it resonates with you, hit me in the inbox, hit the number. If we can go deeper into you, this is going to be a nice little small aspect for some people. In a gate, opening the gate reading, we start with it's 11:11. We in the building. See, that's when the spirit tell you to do what you're supposed to be doing. Put it into the space. These are the human design cards. They coincide with this book even deeper. D can be used as a study tool. So it's like keys, like these are the type of keys we're gonna be putting in when we're doing the book club. When we're doing the learning in the book club. You'll get something like this. You'll get a book like we'll go into a book like this. And then anything that goes coinciding with that, that's what we're going to be getting into and using. So we're going to learn the aspects of bringing these things together, similar to bringing ourselves into that unity. But the card I'm about to pull for right now is Retreat. Gate 33, Retreat. Active withdrawal and transformation of a weak position into a strength. Wisdom and experience is shared through the voice of remembrance. Line 6 is disassociation. Line 5 will be understanding the aspects of our timing. Line 4 will be understanding the aspects of the definition of our dignity. Line 3, we get into the aspects of our spirit. Line 2 is the surrender. And line 1 is until you surrender, you're always going to be in a state of avoidance. The bottom of this card says privacy, the revelation of secrets. So we're going to look at that right there. Top of it says Gate 33 Retreat. That's what it would say. These are the lines that we would discuss that are happening within you as we read through the lines. And then that's the privacy. From here, I grab my Oracle deck. That's an example of the reading. That card does look real interesting. Look at that card. I ain't going to tell you what that card is. This card says closing. That's besides this. That's neither here nor there. From there, I'll pull out. We got these cards in Ascension. If it resonates with you, let me know. I pull these cards out. They shuffle. They in front of you. As I grab my damn cards. I grab the cards like this. First card I pulled was formation. So now we're looking at the aspects of retreat and formation. We're looking at the aspects of disassociation based on the new formation. We're looking at the aspects of retreat based on the dignity of that new formation, the spirit, or you getting in tune with yourself in that new formation. The aspects of the surrender, and we get into that aspect when it comes to creating that new formation. And the aspect of avoidance based on what you're forming. Then it goes into the aspects of moderation. So then we do this. So we got formation, be the next card, for example. Then I'm pulling the third card. I'll pull 3 oracle cards. That's moderation. And then the third card on this one is repetition. As you see how all these cards seem to line up with the aspect of retreat. So you're looking at what impulses, as we open it up the gates, from the aspect of you retreating into yourself, because retreat's not a bad thing. Sometimes you need to retreat in order to understand yourself. So now as I'm looking at this and I'm reading the energy off of this, some of us are in a state of retreating, but we're looking at it as an aspect of trying to remain closed in. As you go in the aspect of retreating based on the aspect of that old formation, think about every time that you ran away from something or you've not dealt with something, the rebellious nature, the stubborn nature, the detached nature, the over not understanding your sex, like the suppressing nature. Think about what that, whether or not if you suppress it, it creates a form. And if you release it, it creates a form. If you suppress it, you don't have to, when you suppress it, you're allowing it to be defined by that space. If you're releasing it or you're allowing it to evolve, you now have to define the space and where you're forming that into. This requires moderation with yourself, really getting it, really sitting in that space with yourself. This is in order to understand why moderation is so important, being in that space with yourself, being alone, having that conversation, that's where you're going to see remember, we were talking about the patterns all throughout this lecture, those aspects of those old patterns. The repetition, the old pattern that you always seem to fall back into. You come into a space, you're like, yeah, I'm doing good. And then you seem to hit them same patterns based on that same old imprint. You get the new job, and now you got the new job. So then, okay, cool. Now you got a couple bills out the way, or now you can go get that new car out the way. But there's a pattern. You get the new job, but you never go get the bank account for the direct deposit. Something simple. It'd be something that's simple as fuck that you don't do. But instead of you fixing or allowing that job to fix that old bank account with your energy and your money, it's in a negative. Instead of you allowing that money to go in there and bring that bitch to a new positive standard, you go get a new account. So now you just keep repeating this step. So now since you didn't learn why does my energy always deplete? My shit always in a negative balance. You're only going to repeat the same shit. Even when it comes to anything that you're doing, you're only going to repeat the same shit because you didn't learn from it the first time. And then we get into those aspects through those oracle cards. And then I pull out the tarot deck. I pull 5 cards out of this. From these 5 cards, we understand the aspects of how to open up those gates. The first card acknowledges the gate that needs to be open and acknowledges what needs to be brought to the surface. The 3 oracle cards are going to express and illustrate, because I'm reading your energy when I do it. It's going to give me the energy and it's going to illustrate what we need to work on in those aspects to acknowledge that gate and bring that gate to the vision. And the last 5 cards, these are the aspects that you're going to be acknowledging and seeing as you open up the gate. If you want another example of a channel message that I did earlier on my Facebook, where I call Onijas, or on my Instagram, Papa_Lucy666, I have an example of one of these readings in the full reading and full spread. Also, with every reading that I do, every reading that you get from me, this is another aspect of building. Every reading that you get from me, after you get the initial reading, whether you call me, we do a video call over the phone, however we do it in that space, you will always get an email of the full, you'll get the email of the full in-depth reading, even information that I got after the reading came through. And then you're also going to get recommendations of how to move forward in your works. And what I suggest, either not, it ain't even based on coming and getting more service from me, even on what I suggest that you should be working on next. And then from there, that's how you build that relationship. But then I pull these 5 cards. First card that I'll pull 5 cards off the bottom of the tarot deck. Let me shuffle this one more time. Ooh, child. First card I pulled was the 8 of Pentacles. We understand, if you don't understand that Pentacles are the aspects of the earth sign, so what are you grounded in? The second card, the 4 of Wands. 4 of Wands. Wands are the aspects of that fire. The Knight of Cups. I might end up just pulling 4 cards. The Knight of Cups, that's the aspect of the water. So you have earth, fire, water. I guarantee we're going to pull air. Oh, no, we didn't pull air. We pulled another fire card. Fire card, followed by another water card. So I pulled the 7 of Wands, we pulled the Queen of Cups. So now when I look at the 8 of Pentacles, reading the energy of this room, reading the energy and the example in the space, what are you holding on to that your feeling is keeping you grounded, is really keeping you tethered, as we've said before. So I'm looking at that 8 of Wands, that 8 of Pentacles, you're still holding on to something that no longer serves a purpose based on that decision of going forward that's within that 4 of Wands. The 4 of Wands illustrates meditating on your energy where you're at now. Meditation on the depth of where you're at now. That's the only way you're going to be able to move forward, because the Knight of Cups illustrates that cup moving forward, that new opportunity to move forward with that new cup. The 7 of Wands represents the aspects of that disdain, of that energy you're combating with people, or you're combating with moving forward or staying in that same imprint. That leads into the aspects of the Queen of Cups. Until you address, you're always going to be in that state of retreat. Until you address what you're holding on to and what's keeping you tethered, the old grounding, what's under you, you allow it to be slipped. That's what's keeping you from being able to focus in on your energy where you're at, focus on your job, focus on your house, focus on what you need to focus on with yourself internally. That's going to stop you from moving forward and allowing that cup to be filled. That's going to keep you in that constant combat back and forth. Oh my God. Every time I go forward, something keeps pulling me back. It's because you ain't let go of what was old grounding you. That leads into the aspect of the Queen of Cups, which is nurturing that new cup. In order to become fulfilled, you must first be empty. That's one of the major things that I always say. In order to become fulfilled, you must first become empty. You must first allow all of the old aspects to come to the surface. So you now look at yourself and you're like, you know what? That's really what I need to be doing right now instead of doing this. That event that I always want to go to, the events that I always seem to go to around this same point in time, I need to really sit here and take some time to myself. That's why I can't find anything. That's why I remember for myself, I remember going to parties, going to events, and I remember everything would happen to me, like from stupid shit that I thought was stupid, but it was actually the spirit intervening, to something as simple as not being anything from not having a ride because I knew I was going to drink and I didn't want to drive, even though I had a high tolerance for alcohol. Even then, that's neither here nor there. All the way until like the event of like when I asked questions about who's all going to be at the party. That was my higher self setting up the tone. So it was like, once I found out who was at the party, I don't like none of those people. Okay, maybe it's not for me to go there. But it's your ego that's going to kick in and be like, man, you don't let people stop you from having fun? Your ego, those old filters, are going to keep you in that state of comfort. Like, yeah, I ain't going to keep nobody keep me having fun, knowing you don't have nothing to do with those people. That's the disassociation. You afraid because you're thinking retreat, surrender, retreat, surrender, submission. You thinking these aspects make you weakness. No, these are the aspects these are the points that open you up. Until I surrendered to the work, I couldn't do shit. I only got to a ceiling. Until I was in full acceptance of what I was surrendering and defining what I was accepting in my life, I couldn't move forward. I kept getting the same exact shit over and over and over again. Until I came into the aspect of submitting to the process, submitting to what was coming up in those triggers, I couldn't go forward. Yeah, I got a lot of information. Even in that point in time, yeah, I got a lot of information. Yeah, I started knowing, I could recite books and shit. But that didn't mean anything. Because at the end of the day, it was like, it's the same way as someone saying, you got to go get this paperwork to go be free. But these same people, they still in the same place where they were at, where they began. You still in the same place. Meanwhile, programming the program, I'll go get a passport and I can go leave. Man, you know, if you get that passport, you go to Brazil or somewhere, you know you can't come back. If I can't come back, maybe I'm not supposed to come back. Program the program. If I go somewhere and they say I can't come back, oh, I guess I can't come back. But the definition for myself is, did I go there based on impulse or did I go over there to really build some shit? That becomes your key. That was an example of the opening the gate reading, which is available. 3333. Inbox, hit the number. You can actually hit the email. Don't be afraid if you get the automated aspect because the reading is 3333. So you really only gonna pay after you pay that, you really just gonna pay $3.33. So you can't lose. It's all about the investment of what you're willing to invest in. What are you willing to do to not come back to this shit? I know what I'm willing to do. Ain't nothing stopping me. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. I appreciate it coming through for class. We drank rum straight tonight. We had DMT tonight. We had a good time. But yeah, stay tuned for stay tuned for the information on the book club. Stay tuned for all that shit. I want you to be the fucking best. Because I desire myself to be the best. That's the reflection. Yeah. I love you. We love us. As always, Ashe.